Okay, hello, welcome to the. What are we on now? We're really far into the podcast. I think it's episode 27 or something like that. But let me just get rid of this quickly. But yeah, thanks for joining me as always. Today I will. Well, in fact, I'll show you on the Jira board. So I've reprioritized the Jira board a bit, given myself quite a few new tasks to work through, just because I'd kind of gotten through the majority of the ones that I'd set up a week or so ago. Josh still has ones related to insomnia, because while the event was cancelled, like for this time round, we still want to go to the next one, and we figure if we book in early, we get it cheaper, gives us more incentive to, get prepared, that kind of thing. Like locks us into that decision, forces us to really prepare for that event. But as you can see, I've added a lot of things to the prepared column so that I'm kind of ready to go on that front. So there are two things I could do at the moment, neither of which are very nice, but both of which are probably something I have to do. And those are the two things at the top here. So I'm a bit reluctant to start both. I've just noticed, in fact, I don't have a date on this. I will put a date on this. There we go. Yeah, neither of these things are things that I really want to work on. And I'll explain why. So, physics is something that I've actually had a crack at before. I had no success getting that to work, because I am not using a conventional model setup. I'm using what are they called? Instant static meshes. So the way that they behave, I believe, is slightly different, and the documentation for that is quite sparse. So I'm obviously going to try again. I need to get it working. It's something that we'll have to have for like AI, for instance, so that it can run around and do that kind of thing. I also need to get another big one in, which is culling optimization for the voxels. So what this means is, when something is not in sight, we don't want to see it. How I do this, I'm not entirely sure. It's a bit of a nightmare, especially considering I implemented something called... what did I call it now? Well, basically I implemented that feature that was deferred loading, that's what I called it. So, because of that, it makes this thing that I want to do very difficult, because I don't know what's going to be in the scene ahead of time. So, while it does pose a bit of a problem, I figure what I'm going to do is implement a generic function for spawning panels in that decides whether or not a side needs to be spawned in, and it'll also update adjacent faces as well, and hopefully that won't cause too many issues. It obviously has the end goal of speeding the overall engine up, but it may, when spawning stuff in, actually slow it down slightly, so we'll see how that works out. So let's have a look at this. So we're going to start working on culling optimization, just because I think in terms of editor quality of life, obviously we want Matthews to be able to use the editor and to thoroughly test it to suggest features and that kind of thing. And until we get to that point, it's a bit hard for me to make informed decisions on what to be working on. So getting the performance right, I guess, is a priority. Okay, so we're going to be going all the way back to the terrain controller. Oh, excuse me. So this is something I've not done for a while, actually. I've not been in here for some time. I do understand, obviously, everything that's going on, near enough. I'll probably have to revisit some things just to figure it out, but my goal is kind of to break up some of the existing functions and wrap them in a bit of additional decision logic. So what I'm thinking at this point is if I spawn something in and it's next to a voxel that has a face that is, in terms of its mirrored shape, if that's identical as the one that's on the current voxel, not only do we not spawn ours in, but we also hide the other one. It's going to take me a while to kind of get into this because I need to really work out where to start. It's going to be quite difficult, I think. So one thing I'm going to do to make maintenance of this particular function easier is I've just noticed that it can quite easily be wrapped up in an old function. That being said, with the deferred loading process, I might have data about the shape, the adjacent shapes that I want to edit. I'm not explaining myself very well. So there's an issue that I'm working through currently, and I'll explain that. So if I get paint up. Sorry, 1 second. So with the deferred loading process, we load things in one at a time. So if, say, I was in the process of loading this one in, I don't necessarily know what's in the next space, but if I remember correctly, I might have preloaded data into that. So I just want to double check. No, I don't think I did. Just noticed my housemate's music's too loud again. might have to go talk to him, it's really loud at the moment. I'm going to start by doing just a simple refactor of this, just because it will make it easier to maintain. I just want to make sure that there's nothing unique in each one. I think there is. All that there is this number here. That's fine, so that's great, I'll just update that. So for int I, less than 6. Okay, move one of these in. Change all instance of 0 to I. I don't think there's anything else that I need to change there. Trying to see if there's anything else unique in one that needs updating, but I don't think there is. That means I can just get rid of all of this crap. Which is quite nice. So that simplifies that a little bit, makes it a bit nicer to read. I'll see if there's other similar, I know they're not optimizations, but similar code refactors that I can do just to make this a bit easier to maintain. Some of this was built with the intention of never having to touch it again, so yeah, even if I was using deferred loading, I'd still be spawning in the models for those anyway. So I could make a second deferred loading process, I suppose. And to that effect, I suppose I could push all of the model loading onto some kind of queue and then process it that way, but even that wouldn't solve the issue. It would just kind of push the performance concerns down the road. Where to begin? Well, I guess all of the work really needs to happen in spawn model instance and delete model instance, so I'm going to do my work in there. Which, yes, I'm aware is a bit of a mess. So it's going to be quite a lot of work to get working. Because we're going to have to wrap nearly everything in, put it in like cases and stuff like that, which is going to be a nightmare. Guess I could break these up into their own functions. But then I'd be passing in loads of data and stuff, and it'd just be further complicating the issue. This is not too many cases actually. Right, so my thinking is with every face that we have, we want to compare it against its neighbour before spawning it in. We don't necessarily need to keep track of what spawned in and what isn't, because so long as the spawning in and the deletion code is identical but one is the reverse of the other, it won't matter. I can't think of any scenario in which it does, since the only two states are it's not in the scene or it is. It's only awkward because I have to do so much calculation. I also want to work out quickly what exactly is going on. It's been a while since I've worked on this. Like, I do know what this does, but I want to know what each of the variables mean, and if there's a way that I can refactor this to make it a bit nicer. So this one is the ID for the shape where it is in the mesh list, I believe, and this is the ID for what type of panel it is. I'm not entirely sure why we're storing these, I can't entirely remember. It might just be so that we can excuse me, so that we can find it again when deleting it, I think. Yes, this is actually going to be quite important anyway for deciding what type of shape is on each face. So this code's actually going to be quite important. What I might be able to do, and I don't know if this would work, is save this first, since we're saving it anyway. And then based on that, so long as this is the same between each different type of shape that we have, I might be able to have a separate function which spawns these instances in. Because by the looks of it, all it's doing is spawning in spawning in the object itself. And this is deciding what type of panel to use. And since we've already got this calculation here anyway, we can do this first. So in all of these cases that we've got, we only process these, deciding what shape should go where. And then we can like kind of batch spawn them in at the end of this process. I think that's probably the most sensible way to do it. So long as there's no changes to anything here. There's no unique variables, I don't think, in each one. Maybe the rotation code. We've also got this line as well. I need to work out what this one does. So I think this just updates the... Yeah, that just updates the rotations. But we can do that anyway with a for loop. We order it correctly. This will be quite a major rework, so I imagine this will take quite a lot of time, but once it's done I think it'll be worth it. Right, okay, this is a lot of work, but we'll figure it out. I'm hoping that the order in which I do my rotations is the same. As you see, this is unique as well. Oh, this is going to be a nightmare. No doubt I'm going to end up breaking half of this stuff. Maybe I could store what the rotation is supposed to be. There's got to be an easier way of doing this, surely. This code is genuinely a mess. It also doesn't help that there's variables everywhere as well. Question is, do I just leave, like, do I just embed my code in here and potentially make it worse, as I might do. It's a big risk that I run. I think maybe I might leave this to when my mind's in a bit more of a switched on state, because this morning I'm quite tired. But at least I've had a look. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can do to really speed this up, because I want this to be efficient. So if I do too many things, or I'm breaking it up into functions and putting in loads of conditional checks and everything, it will slow it right down. I suppose it is necessary at the same time. Okay, so this is a recurring theme, so that might be something that, you know, is there something I can... No, that's unique to each one, so that has to stay in it. This again, unique to each one. The only thing that's kind of common across them is the need to spawn in a mesh. Maybe that's just all I focus on breaking out now. But then the issue with that is I can't update the instance transforms necessarily. And I need to know what exists before I can update it as well. So what I'm thinking I do maybe, I know because they're all unique. No, this is going to be a nightmare to refactor, and I don't think it's technically possible. Not without putting in loads of code that will just bog it down, both memory and performance wise. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, unfortunately, I am going to have to hard code all of this into each one of the functions, and I'm going to have to work out how the fuck to do that based on these complicated variable calls I've got. Okay. No, because it's all dependent on rotations and everything as well. It's really complicated. Okay, yeah, this is a massive undertaking that would require a complete refactor of everything. And I don't know if I want to do that at the moment, to be quite honest. Because in theory I could end up breaking the project for weeks, if not months, if I started doing that. And there's no guarantee that it'd work either. Okay, yeah, I'm going to make the decision to... It's not really an easy one, but I'm going to make the decision to put this back here. I'm going to investigate physics. Now, I know I had really no luck with this before, but doesn't mean doing a code rewrite. It just means digging through documentation until I find what I need. Okay. If I remember correctly, I had loads of stuff to do with this in the spawn prop code, but then I deleted it because none of it really worked. I'm going to have to work out how to re-enable physics on objects. Bring my research tab over so you guys can see what I'm doing. That's really not helpful. Thanks UE4 docs for not telling me how to do the thing that I need to know. First of all, I think what I'm going to try and do is see if I can enable physics on those trees. Okay, so let's look through all of the physics-related functions here and see if anything jumps out. I'm guessing this is a true or false kind of deal. I mean, simplest solution can't always hurt. Let's try this. No doubt I'll get some runtime errors like I did previously. Gave me warnings about something not being set up correctly or the mesh not having this, that and the other. Right, just updating the title of the stream since we've changed task here. Did I bring... I can't remember if I brought the other thing across. I did. Okay. I also wanted to go through some of these and make sure I've actually updated my times on these properly. Yeah, so I've definitely spent like, let's say 5 hours. If not longer, actually, but okay. Definitely spent longer on that. I think I'll put this as an extra hour in on there. Right, I think I did my hours for everything else. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, let's see what kind of errors I get. Okay, so what I would be expecting is for this to actually do something. I'm guessing this is like an effector or something. Give it. In fact, we'll give it 5 because I know that 9.81 is actually quite harsh. Yes, this definitely isn't doing anything. Also, we're not getting any warnings either. Should be right back for a second. Okay, so I'm actually back a little bit early, so sorry if you were waiting there. Okay, I really need to figure out how to do this. I'm thinking if I can find the physics stuff in here, then hopefully that will work, you'd think. Maybe this, potentially. If it gives me any further information in the docs, I don't think it will, but you'd hope. I really don't have a lot. I've got this, which maybe turns it on or off. And that's just editing the ability for me to change it on or off. And then we've maybe got this function. Let's give that a go. Don't know what properties this takes. Is code highlighting going to catch up, or is this not something that exists? Okay, so it's a private function, I think. Great how it doesn't say that in the documentation, eh? Maybe, rather than uInstant static mesh component, we want to look at uInstant static mesh as a class. See if it has anything that can affect its children. really don't want to have to do my own physics, obviously. If I had to do that, it'd be a nightmare. I mean, in theory I could, but I'm not going to. I guess a workaround would be having a separate physics object and then attaching these to it, but again, I don't really want to do that. I want to have physics simulated on the objects themselves. This could be useful, actually. So maybe I can access instance bodies or something to that effect. What I can do there. I don't know what this gives me access to. Maybe if I just add one, potentially. I don't really know if this will do anything, to be honest. I'm kind of at a loss for how to deal with this, to be honest. This will need to be... Let's look up the documentation for F-body instance. What's the engine? Oops, didn't mean to open Discord. See what it says now. F-body, I don't really know what an F-body instance is or what it does, and the documentation shit for it, as with most things in the UE4 engine. It's just like, it doesn't do a very good job of explaining itself. It's good if you want to find functions, if you already know what the thing itself is, but this is all it says. It's a container for the physics representation. It doesn't say how to use it, what to do with it, how to set one up. See what constructors there are actually, maybe that'll give us a clue. No. Maybe YouTube has some answers. Can't really show other people's YouTube videos on here, unfortunately. I wish I could. See what it says. Yeah, sorry for having to have this open on the side. If I could show you it, I would. I just need to see what code it is they're using, really. So, to give a quick overview of what this person's doing is they're just adding in some debug traces, which is something I've done before. It's obviously not something I need nor want. No, that's not even helpful then. They're not using physics in code. Maybe it's time to consult forums and stuff like that. I think that's probably a good idea. I do apologise that we've not really made any progress on anything today, but that is sometimes just the way it is. So maybe I should put a disclaimer at the start of this video saying don't watch it. I will still upload it. I mean, like, this is games development at the end of the day. Sometimes you don't do anything and you have to just accept that. I'm sure someone who does actually know anything about UE4 is banging their head against the wall going, what the hell are you doing? But I am learning, so. So I found another video which is add force to static mesh. If maybe this gives me some clues as to what to do. This guy again is using line tracing. Don't want to use line. It all seems to be like bullet tutorials more than anything. Well, here we go, maybe they're doing something now. I'd hope. Yeah, they just seem to be like adding a force to it, and it just seems to work. I wonder if there's any way that I can set up the mesh in any particular way. Let's get rid of this. Rid of this line, obviously doesn't do anything. Let's comment out this one. Recompile. I'm trying to figure out what to do really. Maybe I'm just not applying it to the right object. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's like .get component something. Or maybe if I apply something directly to prop models. Or maybe, actually, I'll tell you what, I'm not actually applying this to the instance itself, so maybe this is what I'm after. It would be really stupid if this was all I needed to do the entire time, if I'd just forgotten to apply it to an actual component. Very well could be, to be honest. I'm guessing this is just gonna not, yeah, close Discord. I mean, that's not helpful at all. Great. Let me do this. Put that line of code back in. Comment this out. Am I even wanting to access prop models? Should be. Or is it like get component or something? Why is it not allowing me to access individual? Where's the delete function that I'll have it in? Maybe it's instance. No. Maybe it would be select instance. Oh, not that one. And then I can use that, and then maybe by extension do something else. Does it take additional arguments? What arguments does it take? ELN selected, I have no idea what that is, but I'll just say that's true. For now, just the... No, it doesn't allow me to do additional things on the end of that. I don't know. I have genuinely no idea what to do at this point. I'm going to go away, I'm going to send some emails off. I'm going to open up loads of forums, try and get my question onto as many forums as possible, but I'm going to do that off stream because it's a lot of just text work basically, and also I want to be able to concentrate on what it is I'm doing as well a bit more thoroughly, see if I can come up with anything. If I do come up with a solution relatively soon, I will start a second live stream today where I get that sorted out. Hi Jack, how's it going? Yeah, Unreal's very fun. I do like Unreal for the most part, but it's causing me a problem. Yeah, I'll be going off shortly. If you give me a follow, I'm on pretty much every weekday other than Wednesdays, although this week I will be trying to do a stream on Wednesday as well. My schedule's below the live stream. Thanks for the follow, man. I will show you the project that I'm working on if you want quickly before I go. Let's see, let's recompile this. Oh, I need to reopen the project because it crashed. Yeah, let's recompile. There we go. So just so you have an idea of what I'm actually doing. So I'm working on a customizable... Right, I didn't like that apparently. I wonder if I've changed anything. Did it not recompile? I must have done something dodgy and it must not have recompiled properly. Let's try that one more time. Make sure I've actually removed all old instances of the code. These are definitely both commented out, so that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, that's fine. Let's recompile this again. Hopefully the load key works, please. I don't know, I've broken something, but what I'll do is I'll show you it manually. Oops. I don't actually know what I've done, but dynamic lighting and all that using post-processing. I've not really looked at the design side yet, simply because my work partner is supposed to be in charge of stuff like that. But what I'm working on is essentially like a kind of middle ground between a voxel engine and a regular game engine. As you can see, I can spawn in a bunch of voxels, they'll automatically smooth out, and you'll get something to this effect, basically. You can make quite interesting terrain with it. I've done stuff with it already just to test it. For some reason I've broken the loading feature, so I need to look at why that is. I think it's something to do with spawning props in, I think. Let me just see if the spawn prop feature works, actually. Is that I've broken? Oh no, that's working just fine. I must have done something weird. But anyway, yeah, you can spawn props in on top of the voxels. Make nice nature scenes, put wells in and stuff. Put rocks in if you want. But this is like obviously very much work in progress. One thing I've done recently is add in rotations, so you can spin stuff around, have them merge together if you really want to, like that. Get some interesting effects from it. So that's the feature that I worked on last time. I will be continuing development. So this is just using one prefab, but you can see I've rotated it around and it looks slightly different. But yeah, this engine's coming along quite nicely, but there are a few kind of sticking points that I want to get worked out, which is I want physics in for one, but it's really hard to do for some reason with the models that I'm currently using, because I'm using something called instant static meshes, which are not regular game objects as such. They're kind of like grouped together so that they're easier for the GPU to render, is kind of a simple way of explaining it, but I'm not sure if physics work in the same way. So that's something I've been struggling with. Reminds me of Microsoft Spark. I don't know if I've ever seen it, but I'll have a look quickly now. Oh, up on the wrong screen. Hang on. I use this one. Yeah, so we want kind of like a similar thing where you can set up dynamic environments and then have them kind of play out like an ecosystem, and then obviously mess around inside of that. I'm actually in the process of writing a quite in-depth blog covering the brief history of us as a team and then also what we're doing moving forward. So if you're interested in that, in finding out more, basically if you wait until, I believe it'll be either the end of today or the end of tomorrow, I'll push that blog up. It'll be quite a lengthy read, but it'll give you a very detailed overview of where we plan to go in the future, and it has a quick image of our project roadmap as well, so you can see kind of what time frames we're going to attempt to work to. So yeah, I can kind of see what you mean. But we want it to be incredibly accessible and easy to use. We don't want to have like loads of complicated programmer building block tools or anything like that. We simply want to have a very simple editor and have it as an extension of just the gameplay experience that we want to deliver, really, and not make it too alienating to young users especially. Virtual reality major, that's quite cool. So what kind of, you say you're doing environment interaction and stuff, what kind of work are you doing within that? I'm guessing it's like hand-based physics gestures and things like that? Okay, that's quite cool. I imagine it's quite difficult if you're working in virtual reality to get that to the point where it's not too jarring. Yeah, I can imagine not owning a VR headset being a major issue. I don't know why the loading feature has all of a sudden just decided to break. I think I've edited it something at some point by accident that's had knock-on consequences. Something to do with the prop spawning, I don't know. Maybe it's to get rid of the ones already in the scene or something. I think I've changed anything though, actually. Oh, maybe it's to do with rotation. If I go to the... Do I save them in here? Can't remember. There we go. Might be to do with the rotation actually. I might not be saving the rotation properly, or loading it in rather. Yeah, so am I. I mean, I really like game development. Obviously, I'm doing it as a freelancer, so it's been quite a challenge. But it's only something that I would do if I was really passionate about it. Yeah. So, what kind of games are you passionate about? What kinds of things do you like? Okay, fair enough. I'm guessing you're a C++ programmer, or do you use blueprints mainly? Well, that's good. Well, our game actually is based around the whole idea of kind of tabletop RPG elements, so hopefully it'll be something that you're interested in, because like what we're doing at the moment is making a game that in theory could be used to as like a, how best to explain it, could be used as a static tabletop, like the editor portion could be used as a static tabletop for things like Dungeons and Dragons, if you really wanted to use it that way, which is what we might try and market it as long as there's no conflicting, obviously, issues with the legal thing of, you know, we're promoting someone else's work as our own, which we're not trying to do, obviously. Started off as a business major, so what made you decide to make the change over then? I know what the problem might be actually. I think I don't have rotations saved in the current save file, so I'm going to have to overwrite the save file quickly with a new save and test it. Ended up getting into a game jam one year, fair enough. I imagine it's been quite a learning curve going from business straight into game jams, is it not? Oh, fair enough. Yeah, you would, I imagine, have to do loads of work to kind of get to that point. Ever since the introduction of physics boxes onto here, this has gotten really slow. I need to work out how to speed this up. One of the features I was potentially going to work on today was not spawning in certain faces if they're butting up against other things, but it's something that's a massive undertaking. I need to refactor most of the voxel system, to be honest. It works for now, so I'm not going to touch it, but obviously before release it's something we'll want to optimize. Joining a digital media club, fair enough. Oh, good on you. If you can do all that extra work, then great. You enabled Unreal Engine to run off your GPU. I'm not sure, to be honest. It's not something I've looked into, but I could look into it now. Is it something I'd have to do through code, or is it as simple as like a setting that I can edit? Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure it does run off. I mean, it's pretty smooth. The only time I get slowdowns is when I'm using the voxel system that we have, but that's only because of the recent addition of physics meshes to the things that I'm loading in, and obviously with this many physics meshes in the scene, it apparently slows it down. So I need to look at working out how to fix that. We'll have a look though. Anything to get additional speed ups, obviously. Let me just save this quickly, just as a test thing. So just to show you what we can do, we can save this. So since I added rotations in, the previous save that I had no longer works because it's just a plain text file, and we had some extra information that it pulls out of there, so it obviously didn't read it properly. But let's say we're in voxel mode and we delete loads of crap. Massive hill. Sorry, massive hole in that hill there. Again. Oh, in fact, we can restart the canvas. So let's do that. So let's restart here, and then we'll press the load button. It'll load in all the props and all of the voxels that I've got in the scene. There we go. So some of it's relatively fast. I need to work out what portions of it are slow and for what reason, basically, and optimize that. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of things you can do. Let me have a look quickly. If it's enabled. Let me see if You say it was on the NVIDIA control panel? Just looking at this, would you have any idea where it would be? I'm guessing it's in program settings as well. Well, look. Is it the Unreal subprocess, potentially? It might already be added actually on here, I'm not sure if it's... Oh, I can't for the life of me remember where I've installed Unreal Engine. Let's have a look. Got far too much shit on my machine. Do you remember by any chance where I would add this from? Is there a setting that I'm looking? I presume it's this, but is there a setting specifically that I'm looking for, or is it just to make sure that it's actually added on here? Setting towards the top that allows a drop down for your own video. Right. I'm a bit lost at this point. What am I using in terms of what exactly? Right, okay, so my GPU is a 2060. So one of the ray tracing ones, I think. Double click on the use global setting wording. What, for one of these individual settings, do you mean? And is there any specific one that I should be using, or should I just set this up however? Yeah, because it seems to be using it already from what I can tell. OpenGL rendered GPU. Yeah, so it seems to be automatically selecting a lot of it. I think it is working just fine from what I can tell. It's probably because you've got multiple, like if you're, I imagine your like CPU or something makes use of inbuilt, what's it called, inbuilt graphics and stuff like that, which is probably why it has that option. But yeah, thanks anyway for pointing that out. I mean, it may have been something that I could have looked into adding on if it wasn't working before. Yeah, embedded. Fair enough. Yeah, I think it is running on here. What I need to do is I need to find a code optimization for this, because it was working quite well before. And then I had to add in collision boxes to my... Yeah, it may take some reading. To add in some collision boxes to the brushes that I was using. And it slowed the whole thing down massively, so I need to look into how to fix that basically. Some of the smaller brushes don't have issues at all. Like this, you know, smooth. It's when I do large, like sweeping, when I do large sweeping changes that it has issues. So. But yeah, one feature I always like to use is loading things. It's always fun to show off. So I'll just use that again. Load stuff in. You see it gets rid of all the old junk that I've loaded into the scene. Basically, it does take a while to do. Just because of how much is going on in the scene. And one thing it seems to do as well, which I need to look at fixing, is it slows down over time. I think because I'm not technically deleting old meshes, I'm actually transporting them out of the render area and leaving them there, because it's very laggy and expensive to remove stuff from the instant static mesh list. So I may need to form some kind of cleanup on that at some point. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm still learning as well, to be honest. I learn as I go along. I've done a lot of reading and stuff, obviously, but I'm relatively new. Is it done yet? Nearly seems to be done. Always just fun messing around with the editor, even if I've got no point to it. There's actually quite a lot going on with my code. If it was simple as adding cubes in, it wouldn't be like an issue with optimization at all. But because we're using these special shapes, it does add quite a big performance cost, because I have to do a lot of calculation on top of that. It's always fun to mess around with though. Yeah, YouTube's often helpful. The problem with what I've found though is because my kind of needs are so niche, because I'm not building a conventional game, there's often very little resources on what it is I'm supposed to be doing, basically, which is always an issue. But anyway, that's just a quick look at what the engine can do so far. Yeah, I imagine parkour's been pretty difficult. I don't think there'd be that many resources on that kind of thing. At least VR's kind of becoming more and more common though. I suppose that's helpful to an extent. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up there. If you want to come back, I will try and live stream tomorrow, I think, but it might be a bit later than usual. So if you come back tomorrow or at the latest Thursday, I'll be live streaming again, and I'll actually be doing more work. So I'm going to try and put loads of posts on forums and stuff, and hopefully I'll get a response by the next live stream. If not, I will work on another feature in the meantime, or just carry on bashing it out and see if I can come up with a solution to the problem I've got currently, which is adding physics to props. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and thanks for the follow as well, man. I have nothing to do usually due to the lockdown, so yeah, fair enough. I suppose now's a good time to stream actually, because everyone's at home. But yeah, check out the links in below if you're interested in the work that we're doing. There's plenty of articles and stuff on the website. There's also our YouTube channel as well, which has the backlog of live streams that I've done, as well as the podcast that we do. But I don't really recommend watching the podcast if you're just interested in the codes. It's usually unrelated. It's just like company stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna head off because I really need a wee. So thanks for watching. I'll keep everyone updated as to what's going on, and I'll try and find a solution as fast as I can. So thanks for joining me, Jack. See you next time.